I'm Joe Myers, and I'd like to welcome you today. We have a really fun discussion on the topic of why you need to create your own operations manual. Now, in this discussion, we'll tell you what an operation manual is, why it's so useful, and how to make your own. And then we'll have other discussions because this operation manual, it's not just for your business. It really, if you do it right, can become a way of life to make your life so much easier. And I am so happy to welcome our, I won't say famous guest, but he is David Barron.
Our regular commentator here. Okay, thank you very much, Joe. So those of you who got my announcement through email or through the invite from my Google Calendar, you'll notice that I make my personal operations manual available to you. That will remain. Just send me an email and I'll be happy to give that to you. The specifics of this operations manual that you'll get is specifically for how I run my own hypnosis practice. It doesn't have to be how you run it. You can run it your own way. This is when you get it, I just encourage you to use it as a model to give you an idea how to operate your own hypnosis practice. So let's talk first about the whole idea of a operations manual. This came about, my first exposure to an operations manual came about when I just barely started my own hypnosis practice, and I came across a book. Again, this was over 25 years ago. I came across a book which was named The E-Myth Revisited. So the E stands for entrepreneur. And of course, the E-Myth Revisited is an updated version of a book called The E-Myth. The essence of what the E-Myth Revisited is about is it talks about how when we as entrepreneurs start our business, in my case, I wanted to start a hypnosis practice. We start our business because we love what we do. And we do it with the understanding that, or with the belief at least, because we're turning what we do into a business, we're going to really enjoy the process of doing business, doing what we do. The reality is very different. What you find is there are two parts of your business. One is the part that you love, which is in my case doing hypnosis. The other part is entirely different, and that is running your darn business. You find out that what you have to do to run your business is no longer become an entrepreneur, it's to become a business person. You have to pay regular taxes, you have to get licenses, you have to get a office, you have to pay bills, you have to develop how you're going to make your business run, your operating hours, your Google ad list, your Google announcements, your website, contact. I mean, it becomes everything that is not what you love. So what you'll find is that someone who starts a business because they love this idea of doing a business, they find out they don't do any of the things they love in the business. Go ahead and ask somebody who loves making t-shirts or likes needlecraft or fabric arts, and they start a business with it. They find out that they're not doing what they're loving, they're doing their business. The solution to this is to put as much love in your business as you put into this thing you enjoy so much. So in other words, you start to think of your business as this art form that you like doing. And in that transition, you start to think of the steps that make your business, you can take to make your business easier. And you formulate it in a way that's written down one step at a time. And you, over time, you create what's called your operations manual. And it is a written document that if you have any questions as to what to do, you review your operations manual. And if you look in your operations manual and you don't know what to do, it's time to figure it out and make it a rule on how to operate your business. A good lesson to that, bear with me. I shall turn off my phone. A good lesson to that is that I learned, and again, I'm sorry, bear with me. The lesson I learned from that is, say, for example, oh, this is a great lesson. Someone someone asked me once, how do I schedule my clients? And what I ended up doing is telling them this long process. You know, I tell them what times I'm available. I let them know once we get an agreed upon time, I put it in my written calendar, and then I put it in my Google Calendar. Then I email them an invite from my Google Calendar. Then I email an email to them with a form on it. And in me explaining it, they got sort of overwhelmed and they said, how do you do all that? And I said, it's very simple. I pissed off too many clients not doing it. You are working with somebody you care about and you want to have them result, and they come back to you and tell, in my case, they tell me that they are disappointed. It hurts. And it hurt me significantly enough that I was not going to let that happen again. And so I wrote it down as a process. And from now on, I just don't have that problem. One of the things that's in my process, for example, now is I explain to them how I work with people through teleconferencing, through Zoom. And if they don't want to do it, I have no problem with that. But I let them know that, you know, even if they come to my office in New Hampshire, it's set up that they would work with me through a teleconferencing service. And I subsequently deal with any objection they can come up with, which is once you have the headphones on, once we actually just start doing the hypnosis, your eyes are closed. And it's not going to be any different than if I were there in the same room with you and you smelled my body odor, except there's no body odor there, thank goodness. So you still have to follow my instructions. And, you know, once they realize that's the experience, almost no rejection of that. Very, very few people only want to work with a hypnotist who is a warm body in front of them. And I give them my blessings, and I may even refer them to somebody. But it's not an issue for me. I have no problem telling someone I can't help them. All of this is in the written form of the operations manual. So that's essentially what an operations manual is. It just describes every process from beginning to end in as much detail as you can give it. And the idea of writing that, I found very exciting. And I want you to think about that as something that's a very exciting process to do, because it makes things so much simpler. It eases up all of your worry to do the thing that you love, which is the hypnosis in this case. So, and what I have found is that the operations manual I use, it's not in any way static. It's a living document. So what's going to happen with that is, as I go through, as I learn things, as I make changes, as I deal with clients, I may tweak it. There may be little changes that I put in. And so whenever I share that link with you to just know it's the most recent update. And if you update it every time, you might get something slightly better. I just recently added a couple of pictures to my operations manual. So that's a new update. It's so darn useful because once you have your operations manual, you get to focus on what you love as opposed to the business part of it. There's a point, however, when your business, I haven't reached this point, but there's going to be a point when your business gets so big. And what that means is you have so many employees and so many responsibilities. You're going to have to find a chief financial officer and a marketing officer, and probably even you have to get a chief executive officer to run your business so that you can do just what you love. I hope all of you reach that point because you'll be making a lot of money. I have yet to be there. So how to make your own operations manual. The way to make your own operations manual is just start where you're at. Start with what you know. Think of if you purchased a McDonald's franchise, they will build the building and they will give you a manual that makes owning a McDonald's franchise a turnkey business. And the turnkey business, it means as soon as you turn the key, you're making money. So you want to have everything documented. Start with what you know. Things you can think about is, what are my hours going to be? What's my office going to look like? When do I turn the lights on? How do I treat my customers? Have yourself a script or at least a format on how to talk to your clients. I have talked to my clients so much in the presence of my wife. She could actually answer the phone for me and say everything because I've said it so consistently over the time. And the important part is as I do it, I want to make it new every time. Because I have it memorized so much, I can actually focus on the client. Again, it's a slow process, and don't ever think you're finished with it. You want to get to a point where you feel really comfortable with what you've got because it covers most of the things that you do, but it's never going to be finished. And so if you look through my personal operations manual, you'll notice it starts with how to think of your business, how to treat the manual itself. It talks about how to deal with customers, not deal with them, how to think of them, how to talk to them. And then it goes through, I'm going to just go through it right now and cover some parts. And this is not even anything to do with the hypnosis session. So it talks about the inspiration of the manual. And then it talks about how to schedule appointments, how to accept payment. That's going to be very important. Think about if you started your business and people are giving you money and they give you a credit card. Do you have it set up yet? Well, it tells you should do that. Do you want to use PayPal? Think about your record keeping process for each session so that you're not just seeing someone without any notes beforehand. How to use your email. There's a section on marketing and advertising. And the last part is how to do all the hypnosis, how I do the hypnosis. Again, feel free to take the manual, use it as a model. And, I think you can, if you do it well, be at least as successful as me. I hope you're better and more successful than me. And if you get to be that successful, please tell me your secrets. I definitely want to know. So that's the essence. I'm going to sort of, Joe, you have some questions. I'm going to open up to anyone else.
Well, thanks, David. And, you know, well, obviously, this is highly useful in the business. Part of the success there, I think, myself included, you kind of need an operations manual, for your life. You and I were discussing, recently. Uh, I damaged my ankle a little bit, and it's easy to get in bad habits. My nightly walk after dinner, I didn't do it 2 nights in a row, so that is gone
Mhm.
until I look at my personal operations manual, and it's like, okay, get off the couch.
Mhm.
How would you go about, creating, an operations manual for life to get the most out of it? I could
Yeah.
go on and on with this question, but yeah.
I think it's very wise to think once you get an experience of doing this in your business, you might get inspired to realize, okay, if I ran my life with a certain consistency, with regularity, I might have less stress. Well, I suggest that's probably true. Um, some of the things you can consider about this is uh, set your priorities. When do you want to go to sleep? When do you want to wake up? And I'm going to be sort of one of those people who encourage you put sleep as a priority. If you are without sleep, you are equal to someone who has been drinking all night long. So you're not that smart without sleep. So think of sleep, think of the things that are for your health, which will be exercise. Think of the diets you want to aspire to and the habits you're trying to remove. And again, make a list. If you can start with a schedule, which is great. Know that there will be exceptions to this, but it's great to live by that schedule. And then also start by, again, going back to the things that are important. Start with your values. I was talking with Joe a little bit as this. It's interesting to know that uh, there's a question. It's like a meta program. You can ask people this question, and there's two choices, and you have to understand both of these choices are valid choices for the person. But the question is, would you rather have friends who you can trust, or would you rather have friends that are interesting? For a lot of people, they would just naturally think, well, I want people I can trust. But quite honestly, there are people that just want some people interesting in their life. Doesn't mean they can trust them, but they can be around them and have interesting experiences and have adventures, but it doesn't mean they can rely on these people. Again, no judgment what you decide, but when you start thinking about your operations manual, you get an idea of the kind of people you want in your life. And once you have that idea of the people who have certain qualities or live by a certain set of values, then what's going to happen is you'll start to sort of surround your life with those types of people. Then you go into other areas of your life, which is your social life and the relationships you want. This is not an end result, it's an ongoing process. And it's why people invest so much time in journaling, because a lot of it's just personal exploration and exposition of your thoughts. But what you can get from this are rules that you want to live by, not necessarily rules, but boundaries you want to work within. Um, and a boundary is a great thing to start thinking about. It doesn't mean you can't permeate beyond the boundary or go beyond this boundary, but it does mean I prefer to this set of rules, which I will very rarely exceed from. Uh, that is I've never called it a personal operations manual, but I think it would certainly be of value to you. So,
Would you say
yeah.
that this would be a good thing? I'm sure, I hope most people are familiar with Stephen Covey's,
Oh,
identifying the main stones, for those,
7 habits of highly effective people.
well, that too. But for those not familiar, I'll try to be very concise.
Mhm.
Uh, the story goes, the teacher has this jar and he fills it with rocks and asks the student, is the jar full? Everyone says yes. Then he puts some smaller rocks in there. He goes, see, it could hold that. Now is it full? Yes. Well, then he puts in sand. Everyone believes it's full. Then he puts in water. And the whole point is after he takes it all out, he goes to put the objects in reverse order and the big stones don't fit. So you have to
Mhm.
identify what's important to you to make sure you put stuff in there.
I've heard a
Yeah,
slightly different version to that, except instead of water, they pour beer in and say, "What's the significance of the beer?" And say, "Always make time for a beer."
Oh,
okay, you got your priorities. This is important. Okay. I, on the other hand, at this age of my life, I would make different priorities, but everyone
Yeah.
is different. Yeah. All
Though,
right.
a quick
Thanks.
observation when you're talking about how people quite often love the hypnosis, but not the business side. I think if you used to treat your business like it was one of your clients and show it the same care and attention, it would probably go quite a long way to get rid of some of that hate. Not, I won't say hatred. That more like not wanting to do the business side of it because it's distracting you from the hypnosis side of it.
I think that is an incredibly accurate and good analogy. Think of your business like a client. You want to be supportive, encouraging, nurturing. You want to teach them very good boundaries to work within. That's that's a wonderful metaphor. Thank you, Graham. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
All right. Anybody else?
Alex, you snuck in. I almost missed you in there. So if you have anything to say, I miss you. It's been a week.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's nice to be missed. It's nice to be appreciated. Um, I just pointed out in the chat window that I've got a little manual, the Gallant's Playbook, which I posted to academia.edu, and it's available there for free. Um, it is like an operations manual in that it's got about 14 little aphorisms in them. But
Mm-hmm.
for me, the main part of them, the main meat part of the bones is actually up here, basically. So if I was to say something like mystery is your currency, be generous with the coin, there's a whole bunch of stuff that just unspools past that, which is essentially that when I'm dealing with people, I've got to maintain an air of aloofness and keep my personal stuff out of any interaction with people, make sure that people think of me as a mystery and stuff like that. The final one is, and always leave them wanting more, which goes well with number one, which is you're an entertainer, but you don't always have to entertain.
Mm-hmm.
So each one has got a whole bunch of instructions, which when I just say the words for myself, they just sort of unspool in my brain because it's like a little memory palace I run.
Yeah.
So my manual is in here, but if I were to write it out, it would be a nice, thick, juicy, chunky show Bible, a bit like your operations manual, David.
Yeah. All right. That's perfect. Again, we write these things for ourselves first and foremost. And again, if you read my operations manual, again, this is mine. It's only a model, and make it entirely your own, and go from there. But thank you so much. That was wonderful.
My
All
pleasure.
right. Last, any topics that you would want to cover in the upcoming weeks? Anything that comes to
It,
mind?
but before we jump off on that, I
Mm,
was reminded, a personal conversation we had, and you just brought up journaling. When people journal, it's great. They're able to acknowledge their feelings. But if you add, the creation of the operations manual, you really are giving journaling more of a purpose. Would you agree
yeah.
with that? Yeah.
Yeah, that's very accurate observation. Uh, and it's always good to just reflect upon your thoughts and notice the things uh, that may fleet from your memory that have value in that moment. That's why you journal them. But applying them to taking that information, saying, okay, what can I learn from this? And maybe set a boundary for maybe not a rule, but a recommendation. Then you'll start developing that personal operations manual. Okay, thanks. Yes, Alex.
Two topics I'd like to bring up as possible future topics for these chats.
Yes.
The first is maintaining a hypnotic blog, which is something which I do. I actually do a lot of blogging, some of which is not on this topic, but it's on different topics like my dream journal and stuff like that. So it could be about maintaining a blog as part of your thing. And the second one is recreational hypnosis. So there's like 3 different types of hypnosis. One is the therapeutic, where a person comes in to allow themselves to be healed, allow themselves to get cured of some psychological or sociological wound which is in them, or a habit which they need to purge. The second one is the performative or generative hypnosis, which is where some person comes in and they need help with overcoming stage fright so they can perform at their best, or an athlete coming in saying, how can I live in the zone when I'm on the track, when they're about to fire the starter's pistol? I want to be like that. I want to be the machine that goes in and wins. So that's generative hypnosis. The third one is recreational hypnosis, which is like, it can be anything from running and blog or being an entertainer on a stage with a row of chairs and poor people lying there half dead on their feet. And then there's the street hypnosis, which is the really fun part where you go to people and you're going, hi, I'm a hypnotist. Drop. And you basically put people in a trance almost immediately. Thank you, Anthony Jackin, for providing the inspiration for that. So recreational hypnosis and running hypnotic blogs. So those are the 2 topics
Very good.
You might want to consider doing research into.
That
quick one,
gives me
Alex,
some,
if I may. Where would you include sorry, I was about to say for Alex, where would you include self-hypnosis in those 3 categories?
Okay. The self-hypnosis part, I would put that in generative or performative hypnosis. Because by definition, if you're involving yourself as your own subject, then you're going in, you're taking deep dives automatically, and then going in with your own subconscious mind, your unconscious, or whatever you want to call it, to help to clear your own self-doubts, the things that are holding you back. And it's like approaching something and then saying, what are the barriers preventing you from blah, blah, blah? Most people, they're kind of averse to that question, because usually they say, well, it's something like that, blah, blah, blah. And they say, nope, don't play the blame game, it's you. And then they say something stupid like, you got to join this harsh punitive program to get you back into work or something like that. You've got no choice when you're dealing with yourself. With self-hypnosis, you're going in there, and if you have a major flaw that's like this elephant in the room, you've got to address it yourself. But once that's cleared, once you've sorted yourself out and you can live with what you can, then that changes from being therapeutic to being personally like generative. So that if you're doing this for a business, then you are the hypnotist. As Anthony Jackin said, in reality is plastic. You are the hypnotist. And that's basically how you start. It goes from therapeutic to generative. So that's where I put it, in generative.
Yeah. Yeah, so I was asking because the branch of hypnotherapy and the cognitive behavioral hypnotherapy takes a lot from CBT and a lot from Donald Meichenbaum, who always had a thing of taking his clients and turning them into their own therapist. One of the things he advocated, particularly later when he got together with Mark Davis at the College of Hypnotherapy, was using the self-hypnosis as part of the therapeutic process.
Yeah.
I just wanted to get your thoughts on where you would put it.
Okay.
So that's actually quite an interesting idea of doing that 3 branches. It's actually quite an intriguing thought.
Okay.
Sorry,
of you... Go ahead.
Sorry, I was random flash thought through the head just then. When I was speaking about me learning that I did. One of the things we were instructed upon was this thing called the sphere of competence, which could actually tie quite well with Alex's 3 categories, which was a case of, these are the things that you're okay to treat therapeutically, things like low-level phobias and anxiety and stress and things like that. And then they're saying this is what starts to border on clinical stuff, which should be handed over to, you know, medical professionals who are trained in more advanced psychological techniques and stuff like that. I was just wondering, you know, what everybody's idea and where the edges of the sphere of competence lie and all that.
Okay. All right, very good. Okay. Anything else, Joe?
Oh, did I misunderstand? Was it there was going to be a request for two topics, self-hypnosis and
Well, maintaining a hypnosis blog, which I think
okay.
is a cool idea, and then recreational hypnosis was the topic. I have some ideas about that. I think I
Okay.
can.
Oh,
I think that could be fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that since we have everyone here, our loyal followers, when you say recreational or self-hypnosis, do you want to learn, for lack of a better term, tricks of the trade? You know, the first part of eye closure. If you have a headache, you know, a migraine, you know, you can just do the first part of, you know, the eye closure, relaxing the muscles around there. Hold that for about a minute, and that can be very helpful. So those are useful things. Or you're in luck, as which I think on the invite there, yes, there is a link to it. Uh, Recreational as far as party tricks. David has
Yeah.
that as part of a giveaway.
We'll go over a lot of those. I think that'll be a fun one. And what's weird about recreational hypnosis and what's in that document is it's just way too simple. I mean, you read the words and you think, you mean I just have to say the words? And the answer is no, you can't just say the words. You have to have sort of a presence to do it. But we'll certainly go over that. That'll be great. And someone asked about getting the most recent version of my manual. Simply refresh what you have. You're linked, it's shared to you. You cannot, you can't edit it, but you can copy and save it. So that's what I'd recommend.
Okay. Is it located in your Google Drive when you shared the link, is it, David?
Yes, it is. It's a shared.
Yeah, I think it, because it'll probably be in my Google Drive, so I'll probably have to just re-download it.
You just go to your shared file in your Google Drive and find it and refresh it. I don't even know if you have to refresh it. It's probably shared as it is. Okay. All right. People, again, I am so glad you're here. I forget if we recorded this part, but I did say when I was talking with Anne earlier that I love doing that. I am happy to help anyone who's eager to become a hypnotist. And up to this point, I have yet to charge people. So if you need my counsel and my recommendations and my encouragement, reach out to me for a moment in time now. There's not going to be any charge, and I would love to help. I want some really good hypnotists out there. And let's wrap it up. You know, you had to spend a whole 40 minutes here out of your life not doing something else. And because you're here, you're not doing that thing. And so you sacrificed. And I am deeply grateful for the sacrifice you made to get here. We will come back again next week and we'll go from there. Thank you so much. Please take care, everyone.
And thank you, David, for taking the effort with yourself and Joseph to actually lay this on for us. It's really appreciated.
Wonderful. Take care.
Thank you very much. Have a great week, everybody.
So long.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.